All right, good afternoon. Bienvenidos todos. Welcome all, and thank you for joining us today. It's so exciting to know that we have over 200 people registered to join us today from across Peace Health communities within Southeast Alaska, Washington, and Oregon, as well as community members and healthcare partners. My name is Kayla Torres, and I serve as one of the directors of nursing at Peace Health, St. Joseph Medical Center in Bellingham, Washington. The subject of today's summit is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in Puerto Rico with only Spanish being spoken at home. I found myself influenced by a variety of things, and interestingly enough, my mother, while I was growing up, was in the Army, and when she was stationed in San Antonio, Texas, I found myself temporarily living there from the time I was 6 to 10 years old. My first encounters with English came in the form of a directive. I was told I would be held back in school if I didn't learn English immediately, which translated to roughly 3 months to be found proficient enough to be able to continue in the grade I was at the time. The burden in terms of developing the skill was entirely on me because I had to figure out ways to practice on my own outside of school, even though the teachers knew that in my home, Spanish was exclusively spoken. So when we moved back to Puerto Rico around the time that I was 10, again, the burden was entirely on me to sustain what I had learned. Today, my colleagues know me as a fluent multilingual Spanish-English speaker with degrees in various fields. And yet, interestingly enough, I still often get asked if my married name is Torres, because the assumption is I was married to a spouse with a Spanish last name when in fact, Spanish is my first language. These lived experiences, coupled with what I have witnessed as a nursing leader, has led me to be here with you. I thank you all for being here and for taking part in this journey with us. Our focus for today's virtual summit is to foster an appreciation of the diversity of languages present in regions where we collectively care for others. We are so honored to have with us today speakers and panelists with a mutual concern for how we collectively ensure services and care are accessible, safe, and welcoming. Each will bring their own professional and lived experiences to help us improve our practices and skills. For today's summit, the video options for participants is turned off, but we still hope you can stay highly present with us. There's a Q&A feature where you can pose questions to speakers as we go through, and there is a chat window. From time to time, we will ask you to share in the chat. We likely will not be able to get to all questions, and in some cases, it is very likely that a speaker will later on in the program address what you're interested in, so please hold off. No, we appreciate your interaction and engagement. At the conclusion of today's summit, we will share the link to evaluations that will also connect you to continuing education certificates. Today's summit has been approved for 3 contact hours by the California Board of Registered Nursing and 3 AMA PRA Category 1 credits for physicians. Now, before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the first peoples of the lands we are joining you from. We, Peace Health, acknowledge we provide care on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of Coast Salish and Indigenous people who have been the spiritual caretakers of these lands since time immemorial. The Indigenous way of life, cultural values, and respect for the land and waterways are alive, strong, and resilient. We honor and accept the responsibility of being in continuous healing relationship as one people. When we recognize this place and the land, we are reminded of our responsibility. We are reminded of the role we have in this time. This helps us come into the present. Let us ponder on the following. For hundreds of years, the erasure of language has been a tool of colonization. With the disappearance of language and acts of language oppression comes the loss of cultural teachings, health practices, and healing traditions. Honoring language of choice is key to health and well-being. We truly are in a unique position to do everything we can to honor respect, and support language justice efforts in healthcare environments. Today's speakers will be a springboard for understanding how we can best promote an equitable care experience for the people who come to us and trust us with their care. Equity through language justice has brought us to this gathering. Before we begin, I am joined by Sadie Olson of the Moon Nation. We are fortunate to have Sadie joining us today to share some words that will ground our energy for healing. Welcome, Sadie.
Ait sgwael, kwasomat, sinasnat, shak uchlamisin, sahanap hasmin, anaman, I kusamat, sinatan, soitsin ohilo, quenis asa atiak ias, nuchchisin makwalia, quenis inatacho, outsin, chitsa uchlami chasin, I utatasin, quenis twinout. Haishka atias chino 8 straight. Haishka chels ina tacho CM. Haishka silaluch I silaluchla ina tacho. Good day. My traditional name is Kwasamat. My English name is Sadie Olson. I am from the Lemhi Nation. My father is Sahanat Pasmin. Kwasanich Sin, we are from Kwasanich. We are from Lemhi. My mother is Kusamat. Her English name is Shirley Williams. We are descendants of the Duwamish people. I'm happy to see all of you here today. I just wanted to say a few words. I do not know the Lemhi language and I am still learning how to speak it. Thank you for your good work. Thank you to the Creator for being with us here today. Thank you for our ancestors and our ancestors' ancestors for being with us here today. I wanted to share a presentation of our community. We are the survivors of the flood. That is our origin story. And then I'd just like to say a few words about this topic of honoring languages after that. I hope this isn't too loud because I'm pretty close. Oh, 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 hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, Josh, so that song is the Lummi Nation national anthem, and its lyrics, it means, "We are survivors of the Great Flood. Come together, my people. Stand strong. We are survivors of the Great Flood." And there was 4 verses in that, and I just think that it's a really great song to remind us that our connection to here and our connection to the water has lived on, and those stories that exist within our community are very important to remember and to acknowledge and to live forward. And so doing that in music is important too. So the United Nations declared this decade the International Decade of Indigenous Languages. And I think language in my own life experiences is important because it shares our worldview. I wouldn't be able to think the way that I do and experience the world the way that I do if I didn't have my language. And I started learning at a pretty young age with the late hereditary chief, Siam Talik, and his mother, Chutapia, being able to share the language with me. Their experience doing language revitalization was very important in our community, and that work has been influential. That song was also produced by late Siam Talik and Antone George. I just wanted to mention that our language is what connects us to the land and our territories, and it shares the sacred sounds of the Creator. And those sounds that we hear in nature are the sounds that we hear in Klumichasen. So we hear these words, and they remind us that we have medicine within our environment. So we have plant medicines, and we also have spiritual medicines and spiritual connections to the Creator, to our ancestors, to our relatives. And that's really important because it gives us a sense of identity and place. And without it, without our language, we are spiritually and culturally unbalanced and unwell. So I really honor that you guys are doing this webinar for language and supporting language, and that you guys all have common support and values for health and healthcare. Haishka, thank you for letting me be here with you all today.
Sadie, thank you so much. We're grateful that you will be back a little later to join the panel along with your mother, Shirley Williams. We will see you very soon.